Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 7 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So before we get into the chess today, I do have a special announcement that for the entire month of June, I am partnering with ChessMood to bring you free access to their amazing catalog of chess courses. All you need to do is click the link below, chessmood.com/Rosen, to get access to over 500 hours worth of courses on openings and strategy and endgames. The list goes on and on. So it's a great resource. No payment info is required, just an email. And it's brought me a lot of value over the years. I hope it brings you some value as well. And let's get into the chess today. Coming in, rated 851. Hopefully we can keep up some tricky and trappy chess. Hopping into the first game, playing Isabella. And I'll play e4. And I have been reading more YouTube comments, been seeing a lot of different requests for various gambits. Against the Pirc, I'm just going to play... Actually, let's start with bishop c4. This is a slightly tricky move order. Usually when people play d6, they usually follow up with knight f6 and g6. And the idea with bishop c4 is after knight f6, I can play queen e2 and get a more preferred setup. Queen e2. Now it is possible for black to play e5, and then I'll play some delayed version of a king's gambit. We see knight to d7. Okay, I'm going to play this move, knight f3. And I'm already threatening... Actually, is this a threat? Bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight g5, king g8, knight e6, takes c7. I think this works. It's one of the tactical motifs from this variation, especially when the knight comes to d7 and e6 is vulnerable. But I'm going to take my time here because I have the option of queen c4, d5, and then take, but then knight b6. So let's go for this. And I'll take on c7. And opponent resigns. That might be slightly premature resignation. Like black could have fought with queen g6. Engine does say this is better for white, but okay, my opponent maybe didn't want to suffer. Queen g6. I would have decided here between queen c4 or take, but yeah, taking is the only good move. Here, rook f1, and white is up material. Black could still fight, win back the pawn. But okay, nice start to the episode. Hopefully a lesson for my opponent to be aware of the tactics against f7. Yeah, and going back to this move order, usually if people play g6, then I would play d4, bishop g7, knight f3. And this is a fun line where white can very quickly get in this e5 break. So up to 861. Let's keep it going. Playing e-bach 2. And I'll play king's pawn. Ooh, queen f3. Okay, my opponent is maybe wanting to set up a scholar's mate. c3, okay. Slightly unusual. I mean, I think the best way to try and punish such an opening is to just develop rapidly, especially with the minor pieces. White is not holding back with the pawn thrust. I'm going to play d5. One of my first chess coaches gave me a very typical principle is when the opponent plays on the flank, it's usually best to respond in the center. And with d5, I was not only attacking e4, I'm also hitting g4. So that's a free pawn. And e4 might be the next target. Winning another pawn. So no mercy here. Ooh. Okay, my knight was kind of overworked. If I take, then queen takes g4. It's interesting. I'm looking for tactics. I don't think I want to take and just trade. White is maybe also threatening to take and then win the pawn on e5. There is actually an interesting option to take, and then queen d3. Let's go for this. Yeah, originally I didn't want to trade, but if I have such a follow-up, this does look nice. And now it's very hard for white to develop the queenside pieces. White can try and attack my queen, but then maybe I just castle and reinforce it with a rook. Knight f3. Play bishop to c5. Going after f2. Yeah, very well developed. Good center control. Seems like I should have a mating attack very soon. White can defend f2 with rook f1. And it's still a question how to proceed. I'm actually calculating a really pretty tactic, which I guess I'll show after the game. Here I just take here. King d1, I'll take the knight. And where is my mate? King c2. And my rook's attacked. I'll just castle. And white's rook is also attacked. Still not seeing the forced mate threat. Queen d3, king d1. Seems like it should be very close though. Okay, well now queen d3, I'll take the rook with check. Unless the king goes to b3. Now, yeah, now this is very fun. Knight c5. Forcing king a3. And then queen a6 will be checkmate. Okay. Nice game. 14 moves. Some quick games so far. I do want to show this this funny line I was calculating, because it seems like a better try for white is to play rook f1. And then I was looking at queen to c2 to threaten the bishop. But there's also a kind of secret threat with this move that, let's say white plays knight a3 to defend the bishop and attack the queen. Then bishop takes f2, rook takes f2, and queen d1. Sack the queen, but then take the rook and fork and win the queen back. And this would have been a fancy way to trade and be up material. Maybe there'd be better things too. Actually, I'm realizing here there's king e2, so maybe this line would not quite work for black. If we turn on the eval bar, white's actually better here, so maybe I would still have to be careful. But okay, hopefully this is a nice example of how to punish such an opening where white develops the queen too early, pushes pawns too early, and doesn't really develop the minor pieces. So let's keep it going. Up to 871. And this time we have an English opening. Yeah, against the English, I'll play e5, so basically a reverse Sicilian. White plays e4, which arguably is already a positional mistake, because it gives black very good control over d4. On long term, I can very likely establish an outpost on the d4 square. But there's also potential to target f2. Like already here, knight g4. It's probably worth calculating. Knight g4, d4, take. It's very reminiscent of a fried liver. And then I take here, take queen f6, king e3. It looks fun. Let's go for it. Yeah, this is of course a bit different than like the typical fried liver. It is a reverse version. The bishop's being cathode, which helps support the d4 break. D4 is probably the only move to try and fight. White plays h3, so asking to get fort. I'm briefly considering this move, but after king e2, I'm actually probably losing a piece there, so let's take with knight. Get the simple fork. And now, oh, it's so tempting to play this move. Let's do it. So I'm threatening mate in 1. Maybe white will see that they can save their rook and move it. Ooh, d4. Oh, d4 is a good response, actually. Or is it? Knight d3? Okay, let's play knight d3. It's getting spicy. King d2 is pretty much the only move, unless white wants to take. If king d2, I'll play bishop b4, save the bishop, and probably eventually win the rook. I could keep having fun with the checks, although this square is off limits, so... Yeah, what do I want to do? Because if I take, then I lose a knight. If I take here, I lose this knight. Yeah, it's possible the whole sequence starting with knight b4 was not the best. But it's still looking good. I can take the rook and then save the knight, which is probably what I should go for. I really want to increase the pressure, though. Anything else? Taking a moment here. All right, let's take the rook. So some small regret. I should have taken the rook sooner. Now, okay, I should deal with the tension in some way. Probably knight g3. I'm losing the pawn on e5. So white does have some counterplay. Take the bishop. If queen takes, then white is threatening mate, so let's castle. And the plan is to complete development. d6. Take the knight away. Maybe at the right moment I can play f5. Try and open up lines for the rook and also the bishop. I'm going to play a5 to support the bishop. White's definitely fighting well. Like, given the small opening disaster for white, it is a playable position. Knight a3. d6. Also considering this move. This actually looks nice. Attacking the knight and the pawn. And knight b5 looks natural. And then I'll have a choice. Like, do I want to take the pawn and trade? There's maybe the possibility of c6. And then if knight c7, the knight is very likely to get trapped. And there's not too many other ways for white to save the knight. There's knight b1, there's queen c1. But those moves would just lose the pawn. So we do see knight b5. And yeah, I'm gonna go for this. Inviting the knight into my territory. Now rook b8 or rook a7. I don't think it makes a huge difference. Rook a7 is probably slightly preferred. Because now b6 or b5 will trap the knight. Briefly debating if this is playable, but then knight d3. So take back on b4. And it's going to be very tough for white to save the knight now. At b6 or d6. I'll play d6. So discovered trap. I like keeping the rook on the half-open a file. Ties white to defending b2 or defending a2. I can take the knight. And let's be aggressive. Attack the pawn. Also eyeing b5. Attacking the pawn again. Preparing rook c8. We see a4, so that allows en passant. Which might as well do. Yeah, it's looking very good. Up a rook. I have initiative, hitting the king. I'll win the pawn next move. And my opponent misses the queen hanging, but I think this is even stronger. Yeah, this is made into queen d2 and queen c2 is coming. Okay. Nice finish. Yeah, slightly dubious opening on white's part. Generally, when the pawns commit to e4 and c4 so early, then the setup is usually a just very simple way of punishing white's setup. And yeah, probably could have punished white even more by just taking the rook right away. Engine says knight b4 is one of the best moves, but yeah, it gave white some unnecessary counterplay. But I was still always in control. So let's keep it going. Up to 880. Play e4. And we have a Scandinavian. I'm hoping for queen a5, so I get to play this b4 gambit. I think it's called the Leonhardt gambit. We see queen c6, which actually blunders a queen instantly. My opponent should maybe watch some John Bartholomew videos to learn the Scandi theory. Queen c6, unfortunately for black, is one of the worst moves after knight c3. So my opponent is realizing their doom. Maybe saying, "Oh no, my queen." There is kind of a funny idea that if it's my move in this position, I would maybe play knight d5 to set up the idea of queen takes b5, knight takes e7, win back the queen and the pawn. Opponent's tanking here. Hopefully I don't have to wait a whole 8 minutes for this game to finish. But we'll see. I do kind of have a bad feeling that I might have to wait longer than I want to for this game to finish. But maybe my opponent's just trying to figure out how they can best fight on. Sometimes after you make a big blunder, you don't want to slow down and just see if there's any chance of fighting back. Okay, what to do? It's been a couple minutes since my opponent last made a move. If you're still watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to get your free ChessMood membership for this month. Now, usually chess.com detects if like the game has been abandoned. Chess does this, where if the opponent's stalling in a losing position. But I think it maybe only detects it if like the opponent goes offline or switches tabs. But if they leave the tab open, then Yeah, I might be stuck here for a while. I think what I'll end up doing is just edit out the dead space so viewers don't actually have to wait however long it takes for my opponent to resign or rage quit. Oh, finally, okay. We'll auto resign in about 15 seconds. Okay. Game has been abandoned. So, I'm up to 889. Let's keep it going. I think I'll try and break 900. Probably 2 wins away. Let's play e4 again. Playing TCT Gambit. I wonder if my opponent will play a Gambit. Another Scandinavian. Oh, knight f6. Okay, this is a line. I'm actually wondering what's the trickiest approach against this? I'm gonna play c4, holding on to my pawn. Now there is c6 or e6, after which it is a potential gambit. I think this is this is a Icelandic gambit. But I'm not going to take the pawn. I'm going to focus on central control. And now we have a position where I can develop pretty fluidly. It's equal material. I do have the isolated queen's pawn, which could be a weakness long term, but it's also a strength early on because it controls space. Black is a bit more restricted in the center. And very often when you do have the isolated queen's pawn, it allows you to play more aggressively in the middle game. One of the plans is knight f3, castle, and eventually knight e5 and target f7, combined with either bishop f4, bishop g5. Should also keep in mind ideas like queen b3, create the battery, target b7 as well. So my opponent's taking time here. I don't think my opponent will be abandoning the game from this position, though. Maybe just a crossroads in how to develop the pieces. Okay, so yeah, normal development. Knight c6 attacks the pawn. Now this does give me the option of pushing. Which I am kind of tempted to play, but I'm not sure if this is actually good. There's knight a5, and the pawn might just be overextended there. So, what else can I do? There's bishop g5. Let's be active. I'll play bishop g5. Black might give me a taste of my own medicine with bishop g4. There's some idea of knight d5. Okay, so bishop e7. It's a good sign. And bishop g4 is still a small concern. Actually thinking about playing h3. It's not the trickiest or trappiest of moves, but it makes Black's life a little bit more passive. Because the bishop could develop to f5, but that doesn't really cause me any trouble. And then going forward, I do want to kind of build up my position, get the rooks into play, eventually get the queen into play. Maybe play this move when the timing is right. So I'm probably expecting like bishop f5. There are a few natural moves for black. There's h6. There's rook e8. There's even knight b4 with idea to play knight d5. But that might be not the best because then I have queen b3. And actually, I would probably be happy to see rook e8 because then queen b3 is just a direct attack against f7. Opponents taking their time, which I do respect. I think a lot of players at this rating level play overly quickly and then they blunder as a result. But it is a good habit to take time when, especially when you're not sure what to do. Sometimes if you have a big decision to make in the middle game. I think in this case, like playing bishop f5 quickly is probably better just to save time. But maybe my opponent's concerned about these ideas. Now, if bishop f5, d5, knight a5, can I retreat? Having a hard time judging that position. And there's also just rook e1, very natural. Okay, opponents below 5 minutes. I think my goal is to win this game before my opponent flags, but at this rate, not sure about that. Maybe the goal is to set up one tactical trick before my opponent flags. So that has been a very positional game so far. But I've mentioned this before, is sometimes before you can set up tricks and traps, you do have to just develop your pieces, make sure there's good harmony, and then when your pieces are on good squares, then tactics can more likely happen. Again, I'll probably cut out most of the dead space for the eventual edit, so the people watching won't fully experience what I'm going through, having to wait several minutes for my opponents to make a move. But this is part of being a chess player, especially in like over-the-board classical chess. When I play in serious tournaments, opponents usually average like 3 to 4 minutes per move. Okay, opponents gonna auto-resign in 10 seconds. That's strange because they're still online. Wow. Knight g4, maybe they panicked. Okay, well now I can take the bishop. They were trying to like be fancy and trade, but maybe just miss the fact I take the bishop, now take the knight, and I win material. The bishop does come to g4, so maybe a small accomplishment for my opponent. I'll play queen d3 just to unpin. Kind of dreaming of rook e1 and knight e5. I do. Maybe that was a small mistake on my part. I do lose this pawn, but then I win b7. It's still looking pretty good. If I wasn't controlling e2, then black would have mate in 2 with check here and then checkmate. Thankfully, e2 is under control. I could go for the queen trade. Anything better? And even after the queen trade, maybe there's still potential to generate tactics. If black avoids the queen trade, then I'll be happy. I'll bring the rooks in. Okay, we do trade queens. Ooh, actually kind of dreaming of some Anastasia's mate. I'm going to start with knight e7 check. And then rook c1. Black had one legal move there. So Anastasia's mate is a very beautiful type of mating pattern that usually comes up when the knight's here, the king's here, and it involves sacking on h7 and then mating on the h file. Usually involves a queen sack on h7, but I don't have a queen, so in this case it would require getting both rooks to the h file, sacking one of them, and then bringing the other one over. I don't think we're going to see it play out in this game. But maybe my opponent will start moving more quickly. Maybe not. Okay, less than 10 seconds. Okay, I went on time just to show what I was dreaming of. Let's say rook takes b2, rook h3. Let's say black maybe wastes some moves. If I could get this position, then rook takes h7, takes, and then rook h3 is checkmate. But yeah, okay, so that was not sure what to make of that game. I don't think much analysis is required. My opponent maybe wasn't present the whole time, mentally or physically. But I'm up to 898. Let's play one more to wrap up the episode. Playing It's W Shadow. The goal is to break 900. Okay, we get a game. Play knight f3. Let's start with an Italian. And I'm going to play an opening that... I was going to say I play an opening I learned when I was a child. The main line is usually knight f6, but this is already very pleasant for white. And it's not really a gambit, but it can still lead to a lot of aggression from early on. Now black counterattacks my bishops, so both bishops are hanging. What I could do is take on f7 and then take on c5. I mean, there's also bishop d5, which looks good. Let's rip the king from its shelter, win a pawn in the process. This is already looking pretty good for white. There's some potential tactics against black's king. I might already be threatening knight takes e5. Let's do it. Because if knight takes e5, I have queen d5, hitting the king, the knight, and the rook. Calculating bishop g5. Bishop g5, take. I should probably just take the rook. There's also h4, which is kind of tempting. I'm going to play h4. Leaving the rook attacked, but now threatening to win the queen. Wow. This is probably working. Take, and I win the rook on h8. Okay, let's have some fun. Bishop g5. I'll try to break 900 in style. I take with check, unleashing the rook on the h-file. Now both rooks are attacked. I will take h8 first. And I do have f4 too. Actually, I should slow down because I have takes with check. Wait, this is just made in 2. Made in 2? Yeah, queen f5 mate is coming, regardless of where the king moves. Okay. Yeah, I almost got too materialistic and took the rook before realizing the mating idea. But okay, made it to above 900, 907. Yeah, a6 is a common amateur mistake. I've seen a lot of players around this rating level play these pawn moves like a6 or h6 too early in the opening where it's really not necessary. In this line, black should just develop. I was going to go for d4, takes, bishop e4, and knight c3, and play this, it's a molar attack gambit, but we'll have to save that for another time. So let's wrap up the episode here. Hope you guys enjoyed the chess today. Reminder, if you want to get the ChessMood membership, link is below, chessmood.com/Rosen. And I'll see you guys soon for the next episode. Stay tuned.